STPM semester 1 is just around the corner. Biology 1 is exactly 1 week away. So welcome to Bio World, where in today's video, I'm going to attempt to simplify the syllabus for you. Actually, this video is being done out of a request from one of you. Your handle name is Elias Top 5 in 1 min 9. Wow, what a long handle name. But you have requested for a quick revision video on chapter 5 and 6. I'm so sorry that I'm unable to do it because the time is too short. However, as a compromise, okay, I thought I'll discuss with you the simplified version of topics to cover, which I'm sharing with my students who are repeating their STPM 1. So this video can be helpful for those of you who are repeating, and even those of you who are sitting for the first time. Let's say you are a bit underprepared, maybe this video can help. So come join me. Step 1 in any exam preparation is to know your past year questions. So I'm going to share with you the analysis for Biology STPM 1 from the year 2013 right up to the year 2023. So here's the analysis of 11 years of STPM questions, and it's quite a lot to digest. Okay, I'm going to go through this with you, but please, I want to remind you of my disclaimer that if you are going to follow what I'm suggesting here in Bio World, it is at your own risk, because this is just based on my instinct. It's not that I know of some secret method or recipe that Majelis Peperiksaan is using to determine questions. All right, let's move on. Okay, let's begin with chapter 1. 1.4 protein was tested in the year 2023. So you would think that it's unlikely for protein to be tested again. But if we see in 2017 and 2018, it was repeated back to back, meaning that maybe protein can be retested. Then we look at other subtopics. For example, if we look at water, water has never been tested. We can interpret this in two ways. One, that no need to study water because it's so unimportant. Or they may just decide, because they've not tested in a long time, they may choose to test on water. So it's best to learn a little bit on the chemical and physical factors of water. Then we look at the topic of carbohydrates. Carbohydrate was tested in 2022. And if you see, usually there's quite a big gap between the questions. So 1 year gap is not sufficient for it to be retested. So I don't think carbohydrate will be tested. However, you look at lipids. Now lipids last was in 2016. It has been 7 years since it was tested. So my heavy bet is on lipids this year. Nucleic acid, you see, it has already been tested recently. Okay, so unlikely to be tested again. But analytical techniques was last tested in 2016. Long time since it was tested, so this topic also is a bet for me. So in chapter 1, instead of studying 6 subtopics, I recommend you study 4 subtopics. And I think the main focus for me would be the topic of lipids and analytical technique. All right, so let's move on to chapter 2. But before I move on to chapter 2, I just want to tell you that you can go to my playlist on chapter 1, biological molecules, where I have the complete notes for all 6 subtopics to make your revision easier. Now I'll go to chapter 2. Right, so here we are with chapter 2. And if we look at the past year, you'll notice that chapter 2 was also tested last year, the section on specialized cells. So what a relief. It's very unlikely it will be tested this year because it has been tested before back to back and it's been repeated here. So there's not a chance that it will be repeated this year. So then where should our focus be? You look at 2.1, prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, last tested in 2014. So definitely this year, if chapter 2 is to be tested, questions will be from 2.1, right? And then if we look at cellular components, although the last time was in 2022, I would feel that there is a possibility it being tested again this year because you see it only waited 1 year gap from 2020, then it gapped in 2021 and repeated in 2022. So there's already been one gap, so maybe there is a chance of it being tested, and actually it's not too difficult to study these 2 subtopics. What makes it easier is my playlist is complete for chapter 2 also. So you can see here in my playlist, we have all the topics right up to specialized cells 2 if you need to do revision on that. Okay, now we see chapter 3. Okay, why am I stressed? Because you see chapter 3 wasn't tested in 2023, nor was it tested in 2022, meaning that the probability for it to be tested this year is extremely high, whereby we see the topic of fluid mosaic model was last tested in 2018. So this year, most likely there's going to be a question on fluid mosaic model. And then we see the movement of substance also was last tested in 2021. So both subtopics are important, meaning unfortunately, chapter 3, you have to study everything. But again, I have good news for you because my chapter 3 playlist is also complete. You can see it only has 3 videos which covers the whole of chapter 3. So that makes revision very easy. For chapter 3, just make lots of practice questions to strengthen your understanding of this chapter. Okay, come, let's move on to chapter 4. Now, chapter 4 is quite big. There are 6 subtopics. But you see, last year it has already been tested for the topic of inhibitors as well as the topic of enzyme technology. So then, what should we prepare for? You see, the topic on catalysis and activation energy was only tested in 2015, and since then it hasn't been tested. So high probability this year. Mechanism of action kinetics, I find it was tested in 2021, so not very likely to be repeated yet. But classification of enzyme, you see, another one that hasn't been tested in a long time, so high probability. What do you think will be the other topic? The other one has to be cofactors. Okay, because mechanism of action was 2021, and like I said, inhibitor and enzyme technology already tested last year, leaving us with these 3 subtopics. So I've halved chapter 4 for you. Unfortunately, chapter 4, I only have 3 videos, out of which only 1 video is going to be useful for you for 4.1. I don't have anything on cofactors nor enzyme classification. So this is where I have to apologize. You have to use your notes to catch up with your revision. Moving on, we look at chapter 5. Now, the good news about chapter 5, frankly speaking, both chapter 5 and 6, in my opinion, is the most challenging in STPM 1. But you see, chapter 5 was tested last year, the part on anaerobic respiration. So that means what is left is 5.1 and 5.2, and 5.1 has never ever been tested. So again, we can consider it as either not necessary or high time. But in this part 5.1, there's nothing much. You just have to know about ATP, NADH, and FADH2. Okay, but the focus would most likely be on 5.2. Okay, the reason you can see is that every year it is tested. Structure essay, structure essay, structure essay, structure essay, structure. Then there's already a gap last year. So this year, my bet is it's going to be an essay. Okay, but sadly, I have no videos on chapter 5. So you will have to depend on your school teacher and your notes. Sorry about that. I will have the same sad thing to say about chapter 6 also. Okay. Now, chapter 6 has only got 4 subtopics. A little bit of good news is that it was tested. The light independent reaction part was tested as a structure question last year, meaning that the Hatch slag, Kelvin cycle, CAM plants not likely to be tested. Okay, so that leaves us with the light dependent reaction. Okay, considering that limiting factors was also tested last year. So from 4 subtopics, you just focus on the light dependent reaction. That means your cyclic photophosphorylation and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. So my apologies again because of the absence of any video on this chapter. Now that you know what to do as step 1, so what do we do for step 2? Simple study. There is no other shortcut. I've tried to simplify as much as possible. Beyond that, I cannot simplify anymore. So please study, practice doing lots of questions, and a little bit of help by watching bio work. So with that, best with your exams. And before I go, I just want to inform you that I plan to have a question and answer session on Sunday, the 21st of January, between 5 to 7 p.m. just for you. So if you have any last minute questions you want to clear about Biology STPM 1, you are most welcome to log in. The link will be provided below. And log in at that hour, that time, that date. Come with your questions, and where I can help, I will try to clear it for you. So maybe I'll see you on Sunday. Bye bye.